Okay, so ready to do some time traveling. We're going back to 1985. Well, not really, but kind of. We're diving into Warren Buffett's letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders from that year.
Oh, nice. This is a good one.
It really is. Now, I know when you hear shareholder letter, you don't exactly think thrilling page-turner. But hold on, because this is Warren Buffett we're talking about.
Right. It's like getting a peek into how one of the greatest investors of all time thinks.
Exactly. And 1985 was kind of a pivotal year for him and Berkshire Hathaway. It's early days for the company, still growing like crazy.
Yeah, he was already shaking things up.
And he's so candid in this letter, talking about what's working, but also what he's learned from his mistakes, which is awesome.
That's one of the best things about Buffett, that willingness to talk about when he gets things wrong.
Totally. So let's set the scene. 1985, Berkshire Hathaway. Not quite the behemoth it is today. They've got this mix of businesses, from insurance to furniture to See's Candies, talk about variety.
It was like the start of this empire he was building.
Exactly. And he's already warning everyone that the incredible growth they're seeing, it's not going to last forever.
He compares it to Halley's Comet, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing.
He really does. He straight up says, I can't repeat that act.
Mm.
And it's not just about the market. It's about how big Berkshire's getting.
Right. Harder to make those quick moves when you're a giant ship instead of a speedboat.
And that's where his analogy of graduating college comes in. Think about it. Graduation day, you're celebrating years of work all at once.
Right? You don't just graduate from one class.
Exactly. And he's saying it's similar with company profits. One year's numbers don't tell the whole story.
Got to look at the long game.
100%.
Ah.
Okay, so we got to talk about the elephant in the room, the textile business.
Ah, yeah, his first business.
The OG Berkshire Hathaway business, and closing it down. Huge deal for him, both financially and emotionally.
You can tell it was a tough call.
Oh, yeah. He talks about how he held on longer than he should have, even though the numbers were like, dude, get out.
It's that classic thing of being emotionally attached to something even when it doesn't make sense anymore.
Right. Like, we've all been there, right? He even quotes Woody Allen about it.
Wait, really? In the shareholder letter?
Yeah. And it's such a Woody Allen quote, too.
Okay, I got to hear this. What's the quote?
More than any other time in history, mankind faces a crossroads. One path leads to despair and utter hopelessness, the other to total extinction. Let us pray we have the wisdom to choose correctly.
Oh, wow. He really went there.
Talk about dramatic. But it shows how big this decision was for him. And you can see the lesson he took away. Sometimes you got to walk away, even from something that used to be a core part of who you are, if you want to grow.
Letting go is hard, man, even when you know you should.
For real. And this whole textile thing highlights this concept of intrinsic value that Buffett talks about a lot.
Basically, what a business is really worth, not just its book value.
Right. It's about what it can earn over its lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And he illustrates this with the auction they had for all this textile machinery. Modern stuff, but it ended up selling for practically nothing.
Proving that what something is worth on paper isn't always the whole picture.
Totally. And this kind of sets the stage for how he's going to talk about his successes next.
Like, here's what I've learned from my mistakes, and here's how I'm putting those lessons into practice.
Exactly. And speaking of successes, he dives into 3 businesses that were just killing it for Berkshire. Nebraska Furniture Mart, See's Candies, and the Buffalo News.
A pretty diverse group there, right?
Right. But here's the thing. None of these were about some huge, splashy investment. It wasn't about the size of the deal.
It was about finding those businesses with what he calls a moat.
A moat.
Yeah, like a competitive advantage that protects their profits over the long term.
Okay, done.
And these 3 businesses, they're all about generating those high returns, even if they aren't the most glamorous names out there.
They're just quietly making money in the background.
Exactly. It's like that old saying, slow and steady wins the race. That's what Buffett's all about. Businesses that just churn out profits year after year, like those 3 examples.
Okay, that makes sense. So he finds these great companies, but he also talks a lot about the management teams behind them.
Oh, for sure. He's a huge believer in backing the right people. He really emphasizes that in the letter, especially when it comes to these 3 companies.
Yeah, he seems particularly impressed by Rose Blumpkin, the woman behind Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. B. Talk about a force of nature. 92 years old and still working 7 days a week.
It's kind of amazing, right? I can barely get through a Tuesday, let alone a 7-day work week at 92.
Right. I mean, talk about dedication. And Buffett clearly admires that kind of work ethic and passion. But it's more than just hard work. He's looking for managers who think long-term, who are careful with money, and who share his values.
Yeah, because if you've got a great business, the last thing you want is someone running it into the ground.
Exactly. You need people you can trust at the helm, people who are in it for the right reasons.
Okay, so we've got the moat, we've got the right people. What else does Buffett look for when he's deciding where to put Berkshire's money?
Well, he talks a lot about acquisitions in this letter, like how Berkshire approaches buying a whole company.
Which is kind of their thing, right? They're famous for these big acquisitions.
Totally. And he's very clear about their criteria. It's like he's sharing Berkshire's help wanted ad for businesses.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. So what's on the list? What's he looking for?
First and foremost, he wants big companies with a history of making money. No startups, no risky ventures, just proven earners.
Sounds like classic Buffett.
It is. And he's not afraid to say he doesn't understand everything. He even jokes that if there's too much technology involved, they'll probably pass.
He's all about sticking to what he knows.
100%. He wants businesses that are easy to understand, that have a clear path to profitability, and that fit within Berkshire's overall strategy.
So it's not just about finding a good business in a vacuum. It's got to make sense for them specifically.
Exactly. And just as important as the business itself is the management team already in place. He really hits on this again and again in the letter. He wants to partner with leaders he trusts, not come in and shake things up.
He wants them to keep doing what they're doing, just under the Berkshire umbrella.
Right. He's looking for those businesses that are already well run, that have a strong culture, and that share his values.
And this idea of patience comes up again here, too. He's not afraid to wait for the right opportunity, even if it means saying no to a lot of deals.
He says Berkshire's in a position to be patient, which not every company can say.
It's got to be a nice position to be in, honestly.
Right? They can afford to let those perfect opportunities come to them rather than chasing after every shiny object.
So, to sum it up, find a great business with a moat, make sure it's got a strong management team in place, be patient, and don't be afraid to say no if it doesn't feel right.
You got it. That's the Buffett formula in a nutshell.
Now, that doesn't mean everything he touches turns to gold.
Definitely not. He's open about the fact that he's made his fair share of mistakes, too. And in this letter, he gets into one in particular, his experience with the insurance industry.
Oh, yeah, Berkshire's got a huge insurance arm, right? Geico and a bunch of others.
Yeah, insurance is a big part of their portfolio. And Buffett spends a good chunk of this letter talking about the ups and downs of that business.
Which, to be honest, can be kind of dry. Insurance isn't exactly the most exciting topic.
I hear you. It's not exactly edge-of-your-seat stuff, but it is important to understand, especially if you're interested in how Berkshire makes its money.
Okay, fair enough. So give me the crash course. What do we need to know about Buffett and insurance?
So the main thing is that insurance is a cyclical business, meaning it goes through periods of being really profitable and periods of being super competitive.
Kind of like a roller coaster.
Exactly. And Buffett's point is that you can't control those cycles. But what you can control is how you manage your business through those ups and downs.
So it's about being prepared for the inevitable downturns, right?
100%. He talks about how important it is to have a strong balance sheet, to be conservative in how you price your policies, and to be willing to walk away from business if the price isn't right.
It's about playing the long game, not chasing after every dollar, right?
Exactly. And he's also honest about the fact that he hasn't always gotten it right. He talks about how he underestimated the losses they'd have in their reinsurance business, which ended up costing Berkshire a lot of money.
I'm always amazed by how willing he is to admit when he screws up. Most people at his level would just sweep those mistakes under the rug.
I know, right? But Buffett owns up to them. He even uses them as teaching moments, which I think is so valuable.
Totally. It shows that even the best investors in the world make mistakes. What separates them is that they learn from those mistakes and come back stronger.
Absolutely. And that's a good lesson for all of us, no matter what we do.
Speaking of good lessons, let's talk about another theme that comes up a lot in this letter, the importance of building a strong culture.
Oh, yeah, that's huge for Buffett. He really believes that a company's culture is what sets it apart, especially in the long run.
It's not just about the numbers, right? It's about the people, the values, the way things get done.
Exactly. And he walks the walk. He talks about how Berkshire gives its managers a lot of autonomy, how they prioritize honesty and integrity, and how they're always focused on doing what's right for the long haul.
It's like he's saying, hire good people, give them the freedom to do what they do best, and then get out of the way.
Right. And that kind of trust and empowerment really comes through in his writing. He's not a micromanager. He's looking for partners who share his vision and values.
And he's big on shareholder alignment, too.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure everyone's interests are aligned, that everyone's on the same page.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for him. He talks about how important it is to be transparent with shareholders, to communicate honestly about both the good and the bad.
And to treat them like owners, which
Yeah.
they are.
Exactly. He's not just looking for passive investors. He wants people who are engaged, who are invested in the long-term success of Berkshire Hathaway.
It's about building a community, not just a company.
I love that. It's so true. And it's something you don't hear enough from CEOs these days.
Totally. So we've got these great companies, a strong culture, but then Buffett hints at a new problem. What if there just aren't enough good deals to go around?
Yeah, it's like he's realizing the market's changing on him. Suddenly, everyone wants in on the value investing game.
Exactly.
Hmm.
He talks about how back in the 70s, finding those undervalued gems was like shooting fish in a barrel. Nobody wanted them.
And he was there to scoop him up for a steal.
Exactly. But by 1985, word's gotten out. That's when those great businesses started getting harder to find at a discount.
So what's he supposed to do? Just stop investing?
Well, not exactly. He talks about how they're comfortable holding on to some cash, even if it doesn't feel as exciting as buying a whole company.
Like their investment in Beatrice companies.
Right. That was kind of a short-term thing for them, a way to park their money while they waited for something better to come along. Patience. That's the name of the game.
Seriously. And it's something I think a lot of investors, especially new ones, could stand to learn from Buffett. Sometimes the best move is not making a move.
Easier said than done, though, am I right? Especially when you're sitting on a pile of cash.
For sure. But that's what makes Buffett so good. He's got that discipline, that willingness to wait for the perfect pitch.
Speaking of perfect pitches, Capital Cities, ABC. This was a huge acquisition for Berkshire, even by their standards.
Oh, absolutely. This was a game changer for them. And the interesting thing is, Buffett admits they didn't get a bargain on this one. They paid full price.
What made it so special then? Why break the rules for this one company?
2 words. Tom Murphy, the CEO of Capital Cities. Buffett was head over heels for this guy.
Calls him the Michael Jordan of media management, if I remember correctly.
He does, and he wasn't exaggerating. Murphy was known for his operational brilliance, his ability to squeeze profits out of every corner of the business.
And he was incredibly well respected in the industry.
Oh, yeah. And Buffett saw that. He recognized that Murphy was someone he could trust, someone who shared his values and his long-term vision.
And he was willing to bet big on that belief. Remember how he let Murphy vote Berkshire's shares in Capital Cities?
Oh, yeah. Talk about a vote of confidence. He basically said, I trust you more than I trust myself with this one.
Which is amazing when you think about it. This is Warren Buffett we're talking about. He doesn't just hand over control like that to anyone.
It just goes to show how much he believed in the power of having the right people in the right roles.
So what are some of the biggest takeaways you're walking away with from this letter?
That's a tough one. There are so many good ones. But I think the one that sticks with me the most is that idea of finding those businesses with a moat.
Right, that durable competitive advantage that protects their profits. He keeps coming back to that again and again.
Because it's so important. If you can find a business that has something truly unique, something that sets it apart from the competition, you're already miles ahead.
And it's not always about some revolutionary technology or a flashy new product.
Right. Sometimes it's as simple as having the best brand in the business or a cost advantage that no one else can match.
And that's something you can apply to any business, big or small.
Oh, absolutely. It's about thinking strategically about what makes your business special, what makes it stand out in a crowded marketplace.
It's like he says, when a manager with a reputation for brilliance tackles a business with a reputation for bad economics, it's the reputation of the business that remains intact. Meaning, even the best jockey can't win a race on a lame horse.
Exactly. So find your moat, build your moat, and then protect your moat with everything you've got.
I love it. So we've got moats, we've got management, we've got patience, we've got integrity. It's like Buffett's giving us the cheat codes to life.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for?
I know. It's amazing how much wisdom he packs into these letters.
Right. And it's also practical, so down to earth. You can tell he's not just blowing smoke. He's sharing the lessons he's learned from decades of experience in the trenches.
Exactly. And that's why I keep coming back to these letters year after year. There's always something new to learn, something to apply to your own life, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out.
Well said. Well, folks, there you have it. Warren Buffett in 1985.
Yeah.
A year of incredible success, tough decisions, and timeless lessons.
All from a simple shareholder letter. Who knew?
You never know where you'll find wisdom, right? So until next time, keep those pages turning, keep those brains churning, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.